Hi, I'm City Council candidate Phil Marius. This video is about income and wealth inequity and my agenda to address it as a councilman. Income and wealth inequity is simply the unfair distribution of wealth. Wealth we all help create, from farm workers, factory workers, to chefs, waiters, bartenders, and cashiers. It's also wealth that the middle class helps manage, from clerks, secretaries, accountants, managers, and CEOs. And the unfair distribution of that wealth is when we, the workers, are not compensated adequately enough to live stable and healthy lives, while our richer millionaires and billionaire employers have no such issues. And the causes of this inequity are, on the one hand, unfair wage policies that allow employers to pay workers so low that we can barely afford to pay the rent and the bills. And on the other hand, unfair tax policies that allow millionaires and billionaires to pay a taxation rate that's so low our government can barely be funded properly to fund the vital public services that we depend on daily. The effects of this inequity are we have a society of anxiety where working and struggling families are put in a situation where it's difficult to pay the rent, the bills, and also educational and healthcare costs, and also to access public services that work effectively for us. Income and wealth inequity on the North Shore is very real. Tenants are paying more than half their income on rent. Homeowners are complaining that property taxes are too high. Parents often have to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. And because of that, they have difficulty finding adequate time to spend with their kids, to help them with their homework. And students and youth often have to work and spend little time studying just to help their parents and their families pay the bills. And they have little access to recreational centers, community centers, and programs. Same with our seniors who are living longer and more actively, and they have little options, or recreational options that suit their needs, but also their desires. Public servants, New York City police officers, firefighters, public school teachers, they often go years without a fair contract, and it's all due to a strained budget that we have on an annual basis. And because of this strained budget, we have also an underfunded transportation infrastructure, which leads to highly congested roads because our buses, our train, and the ferry don't run on time or as frequently as many North Shore residents and Staten Islanders in general would like. And another issue is the overcrowding, not only in our roads, but also in the classrooms. The lack of public schools or adequate number of public schools on the North Shore leads to overpopulated schools, overpopulated classrooms, which is a burden to both the teacher and the student. The only way we can transformatively address these issues is if we primarily, one, raise all incomes of workers in New York City, and two, ensure that the wealthiest New Yorkers who can afford to pay more in taxes are paying more in taxes so that our government can finally be properly funded, so that our community centers and vital public services themselves can be properly funded and developed. As a councilman, I will work to ensure that minimum wage workers in New York City are earning a living wage as soon as possible. As per the Minimum Wage Act, which passed in the Senate last year, the minimum wage is $11 an hour and won't reach $15 until the year 2021. And asking struggling working families to wait to live decent lives is cruel. And I think we need to speed up that process. I propose to help by working to renegotiate the city charter to give New York City the authority to set its minimum wage to a living wage and tie it to the cost of living, inflation. That way, as the cost of living rises, workers get a raise and we can continue living in our communities and building our lives here. I will also work to reform New York City's personal income tax system. Right now, a worker earning $20,000, $35,000, $45,000 a year is paying an income tax rate of about 3.6%. Someone earning 1 million, 5 million, $50 million a year, the rate is 3.9%, and 3.6% versus 3.9% is not much of a big difference. And I think many of us feel that millionaires and billionaires can pay more and still live lives of luxury. So in this day and age where the wealthiest of Americans are receiving tax breaks at the federal level, and vital resources are being taken away from our public services and institutions, we have an obligation to ensure that every New Yorker is paying his or her fair share of the tax base. And one way I would propose to help in that effort is by introducing legislation that would create progressive income tax brackets on incomes of $1 million or more. And only when all New Yorkers are being paid adequately a living wage, and millionaires and billionaires are paying their fair share of the tax base, can we have a North Shore, a city, a state, and a nation that works for everyone. Thank you.